Namaste, family of light. Namaste. So happy that you are here, and we just want to get started into a couple of things. So, as you know, I've been talking a lot, and I've been doing a very deep dive into the Gnostic Gospels. Those of you that have been following me kind of know that
falling into a hole in between the tables. I don't want to fall.
you would know that we are diving into information that has not been privy to us, but now is. Through Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, all those things that have been hidden, okay, are now going to come up to the light of day. Literally, the light of day, including those of us who shine our light in the midst of confusion and chaos and darkness. There's a sensing that there's a cycle of time, of many cycles of time, but this one has a special feel to it, right? It's like, I feel maybe I've been doing this a couple of times, but this one feels different because in this midst of extreme polarities, which, by the way, Divine Mother in 2010, who I know as Mother Mary, said she needs somebody to keep the polarities in balance. And she spoke of this time of extreme polarities, right? And for those of us that are here, we kind of sense and have always sensed exactly what's going on because there's a part of us that's imprinted in our DNA that we sense something is not right. Now, this is a beautiful planet, and of course, there is so much beauty and light and love that this beautiful being gives, which is why we are here with a sense of mission and purpose because of our capacity to hold light and love unconditionally. And some part of us said, this is such a beautiful being, this Gaia, okay, and her life. We need to go there, experience for ourselves what that is, learn along the way. But also, there are some that have come with a sense of mission and purpose, that there's something that they're to do. And all of us now, okay, have our puzzle pieces, I call it, that we now need to step up to the front and do that. And I want to share something that is with the Gnostic Gospels, which is the Gospel of Mary. And the Gospel of Mary is about Mary Magdalene. And so if you're seeing distortions now, okay, where we may have the living memory, but you can see right in front of your eyes, there's distortions of that information that you were witness to. So what was happening 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago? There's certain things that don't change, okay? Nobody that is in great power is just going to give up their power. We could all agree on that. Has that changed? No, that's been the case. So when we start to broaden our perspective, start using our own critical thinking skills, now that we have access to information that we weren't privy to, okay, where it could have been us thousands of years ago that said, you know what, I don't think the world is ready for this information. And there's those powers that be that don't want this information to get out. I better bury this. I better put it in some sort of symbolic way so future generations will know. Don't we do that now? Aren't we scribes right now? Don't we write in journals and information and books for what? For us, no, it goes beyond our level of incarnation in this moment. We're doing it for posterity. We're doing it for future generations. So those in the past would have done the same thing. So going into this deep dive of the Gnostic Gospels, okay, those things that were hidden, that were not into the canonical Gospels, what you would say to St. James today. There are so many different Bibles. You know, we have the Bibles in Ethiopia. You have the slave Bible. There's a couple of Bibles that are out there, okay, and a couple of Bibles that have, you know, maybe been changed, manipulated, certain message, certain agenda. We got to start using our critical thinking skills, okay? But right now, for the purposes of this, I want to go a little bit into the Gospel of Mary. I've talked about a real important one, the Apocrypha of John. Everybody should read the Apocrypha of John. There also the Gospel of Thomas, okay? And it's going to give you a whole different perspective on things of which the Cathars, the Bogals, the Manichaeans. I mean, the history and the knowledge of where we are now, what has happened in the not too distant past, is mind-boggling. You don't learn this in school. Nobody tells you this. You got to be your own researcher. And you know what? It's really good to be a student of history. Because I had an experience in South America, and what came in was this. It was a history on the land that I was walking on in Peru. And in that history, it brought to my attention that the land still needed healing, and on the whole planet, really, it's the same story. All of the planet needs healing, but it was in that time to say, to know the present, you must know the past to know how to create the future. I'll never forget that in that moment, and I never forgot it. So it's always been, okay, what's the story? What's the story of my lineage? What's the story of the world? How come what's with this ancient war? Where does that stem from? What do these words mean? What does this saying mean? You have to start to question everything. Who created this stuff? Because we actually come into a system where, because of our beautiful human Adam Codman hearts, we're naturally trusting. Your mother, your father, your teacher, your minister, your priest. Okay, it's a natural because of the empathy, because of the heart that we hold. So you're kind of in that mindset until you have to remember who you are on a much larger scale. To say this earthly part of me is just a little itty bitty aspect to the truth of who I am. And that's why Jesus Christ said, knock, and the door will be open. And we are now at an age to start knocking, the age of Aquarius, this time of a great and powerful cycle and great opportunity. So it's going to require us now to start seeking for real. We're all seekers, but now we're going to be seekers on steroids. Let's put it that way. So I want to bring a little bit of information about the Gospel of Mary, and some really just little differences. I'm going to touch on it, just a little bit. But, the first thing, Mary Magdalene, okay, which is this particular gospel is about, okay, is she takes comforts in helping everybody. And one of the things is that the leadership, it was like Jesus Christ was telling her special things because she got it. In the Pistis Sophia, she's the one that's asking like 100 questions. So what happens when you die? So when you go into this level, what goes into that? Thank God for her asking all these questions, because Jesus Christ was answering it. So she has the inquisitive mind. She's asking the questions. So if she's getting it, right, of course, Jesus is going to say, well, by the way, some of these people might not understand, but blah, blah, blah. Right. So she says, I got some information. He told me some insights. And right away, Peter's like, well, he didn't tell us that, And so what I want to say is that the patriarchy, very much in those times, patriarchy still in these times. And where does that come from? And you will find that answer in the Apocrypha of John. It has to talk about the pleroma and the demiurge. And the demiurge is that frequency that one could say created this world of materialism. Okay, that puts certain rules on there, like duality and different things like that, to keep the chaos going. And part of that was the patriarchy versus the matriarchy. And if you go more ancient, you'll find that it was equal. There's always been a concert, there's always been two, and somehow it just became one. Okay, so this is where your wisdom of seeking comes in to say, I got to figure this out. But the key thing is, let's talk about the nature of sin. According to the Gospel of Mary, and according to Gnostics in general, they say that sin is ignorance, number one, and turning away from your authentic self. Turning away from your authentic self. That is so important, that you be your authentic self and have the courage to be your authentic self. And according to the canonical Gospels, sin is disobedience to God's law, failure to love God and neighbor. Well, yeah, in a sense, but Mary is saying, don't be ignorant and think for yourself and figure it out. And salvation is an inner journey. Okay, that's what the Mary Magdalene is saying, is an inner journey. The soul ascends past hostile powers. Okay, we are walking our path of authenticity, light, and love, versus salvation through something else, through baptism, through repentance, through the grace of God. That helps too, but really, it is the knowing that's going to help us to be free. It is the knowledge, because what Jesus said, as clear as day, and it's repeated several times, the kingdom of God is within you. And I talked about the Cathars. The Cathars were burnt to death, and as they walked into the fire, they were singing. What is it that really, when you do look about the Crusades at that time and Pope Innocent, and you do your own research on the Cathars, you do your own research on the Bogles, you do your own research on the Manichaeans, okay? What was it that they knew that the powers that be had to wipe them out, exterminate 100%, to the point entire cities that both had the Cathars and, say, the regular Catholics? And they said, well, how can you tell the difference between the Cathar and the Catholic? They said, oh, well, we can't. Kill them all. Kill them all. So what was it? And that's where we got to start thinking for ourselves. What information was so powerful that it brought out the entire so-called, holy war on holy people to wipe out a whole group of people? And that's where we are now. What were the secrets that they held? These were the wisdom holders. And they're saying, we know information, like Mary Magdalene said, I have some information that I got. Shh. Because not everybody's going to be happy to know this, because they do not want to give up control. But we got to liberate everybody. And for that to happen, you can't come from this perspective. You have to come from your higher self perspective to see what this is. So with that, beautiful family of light, this is a quickie. I just wanted to share that. Start your resource, start knocking, and I will tell you, gnosis will come to you. It's an inner knowing. And with that, okay, you walk with peace and balance in the midst of chaos. And more importantly, you're an example for others. Namaste, beautiful family of light.